In a galaxy far from Earth, powerful aliens ruled the stars. For thousands of years, they dominated every corner of space. They were known as the hegemony. This group of advanced alien species saw themselves as superior. They controlled planets, resources, and even the fate of other races. To them, humans were nothing but a weak and insignificant species, a mere footnote in the grand story of the universe. The hegemony had many planets under their control. Each planet was home to different alien species. Some were tall and green with large eyes, while others had shimmering scales and could breathe fire. They lived in giant cities with towering buildings and advanced technology the humans could only dream of. The hegemony ships were sleek and fast, able to travel through space like lightning. They patrolled the galaxy, ensuring that no one would challenge their rule. On Earth, humans watched in fear as the hegemony expanded its reach. For years, humans had only ventured into space to explore. They built small colonies on nearby moons and planets, but they always avoided conflict with the aliens. They believed that if they kept their heads down, they could survive. Many thought the aliens would never pay attention to such a small, insignificant species, but they were wrong. One day, everything changed. The hegemony decided to show their power. They chose a small human colony on a distant moon as their target. The colony, named New Hope, was home to families who had left Earth in search of a better life. They grew crops, raised animals, and built a small community. The people of New Hope lived simple lives, dreaming of a day when they could explore the stars. But their dreams were about to be shattered. Without warning, a fleet of alien ships appeared in the sky. The people of New Hope looked up in terror as the ships descended. The hegemony had come to assert their dominance. They wanted to send a message to all humans. They were not to be trifled with. The alien ships opened fire, their powerful weapons lighting up the sky. Explosions rocked the colony as buildings crumbled and fires spread. Panic spread among the people. They had never seen such power before. As the colony burned, a young boy named Tommy watched in horror from a hidden spot. His heart raced as he saw the destruction unfold. He wanted to help, but he was too afraid. He felt small and powerless against the might of the hegemony. Tommy's parents had always told him stories of brave heroes and daring rescues, but this was different. This was real. There were no heroes coming to save them. Across the galaxy, a retired captain named Alex Mercer was living a quiet life on Earth. He had once been a respected leader in the Space Navy, known for his strategic mind and bravery in battle. But after years of fighting, he had chosen to retire. He wanted to forget the horrors of war and live peacefully. He spent his days fishing and reading, far away from the dangers of space. But when news of the attack on New Hope reached him, everything changed. Mercer felt a surge of anger and determination. He could not stand by while innocent people suffered. He knew he had to do something. With a heavy heart, he decided to rejoin the fight. At the same time, a brilliant engineer named Samantha Sam Hale was working on a top-secret project. For years, she had been designing a powerful warship for humanity. This ship was called the Revenant, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. With advanced technology and weapons, the Revenant was humanity's last hope against the hegemony. Sam believed that if they could finish the ship in time, they could turn the tide of the war. When Mercer met Hale, he saw a spark of hope in her eyes. She was driven and passionate, determined to make a difference. Together, they began to form a plan. They knew they could not let the hegemony continue their reign of terror. They needed to strike back and show the aliens that humanity was not weak. They had a chance to change the fate of their species. As Mercer and Hale worked tirelessly, they gathered a small team of brave individuals. These were not soldiers, but everyday people who were tired of living in fear. They were farmers, teachers, and mechanics, all ready to fight for their homes. They believed in Mercer's leadership and Sam's vision for the Revenant. Meanwhile, the hegemony celebrated their victory over New Hope. They saw it as a sign of their strength. They believed that humanity would cower in fear and submit to their rule. But they were wrong. As the hegemony prepared to expand their control even further, a storm was brewing. Back on Earth, Mercer and his team finished building the Revenant. The ship stood tall and proud, a symbol of hope for humanity. They were ready to face the hegemony, to fight back against the alien rulers. Little did they know that their journey would lead them to unexpected challenges and great battles. The time had come for humanity to rise. The galaxy would soon know that they were not just a weak race. They were ready to strike back. And with the Revenant by their side, they would take their first steps toward freedom. The secret warship. As the sun set over the hidden shipyard, a sense of urgency filled the air. Deep within an asteroid belt, surrounded by floating rocks and dark space, the Revenant stood ready for its first test. The ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, designed to be powerful enough to take on the might of the hegemony. It was humanity's last chance for survival, and everyone in the team felt the weight of that responsibility. Captain Alex Mercer paced back and forth on the bridge of the ship. His heart raced with excitement and fear. He could hardly believe they had built such an incredible warship. He had been in many battles, but this time, it felt different. This time, they were fighting not just for themselves, but for every human who had suffered under the hegemony's rule. Samantha Sam Hale stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the control panel. She had worked tirelessly to ensure every detail of the Revenant was perfect. Sam was a brilliant engineer with a passion for her work, and she believed in the ship's potential. With its advanced weapon systems and cloaking technology, the Revenant could outsmart the alien fleets. She knew that if they played their cards right, they could change the course of history. "Captain," Sam said, breaking the silence, "we are ready for the first test flight. The weapon systems are online, and the shields are functioning well. But we need to keep a close eye on the power levels. If we push too hard, we could overload the systems." Mercer nodded, feeling a mix of confidence and anxiety. "Let's do it. This is our chance to see what the Revenant can really do." Prepare for launch. As the crew made their final checks, Mercer gathered everyone around. "Listen up, everyone. This is not just a test flight. This is the start of our fight against the hegemony. We may be small, but together, we are strong. We will show them that humanity is not to be underestimated." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by Mercer's words. They were ready to prove themselves. With determination, they took their positions, and Mercer initiated the launch sequence. The ship powered up, and the engines roared to life. The Revenant lifted off from the shipyard, breaking free from the asteroid's grip. Mercer felt a rush of adrenaline as they entered open space. The stars sparkled around them, a beautiful yet dangerous reminder of the vastness of the galaxy. "Prepare for a hyperspace jump," Sam called out, her fingers dancing over the controls. The ship hummed with energy as it prepared for the jump. With a deep breath, Mercer nodded, and Sam activated the warp drive. In an instant, the Revenant vanished from sight, traveling faster than the speed of light. When they emerged from hyperspace, they found themselves in a remote area of space, away from any alien patrols. "Status report," Mercer said, glancing at the crew. "Shields are holding at 100%, and we have full power," Sam replied. "Now let's test the weapon systems." Mercer grinned. "All right, let's see what this baby can do." They moved to a nearby target, a floating asteroid that had been marked for the test. Sam activated the weapon systems, and a series of energy blasts shot from the ship, striking the asteroid. The impact sent debris flying into space, and Mercer's eyes widened in amazement. "Impressive," he exclaimed. "Let's try the advanced weaponry." Sam adjusted the settings and aimed at the asteroid again. This time, a powerful beam of energy shot out, hitting the target with tremendous force. The asteroid shattered into pieces, demonstrating the ship's power. "This is incredible," Mercer said, his excitement growing. "We can take on the hegemony with this ship. We can actually win." But as the crew celebrated, a warning alarm suddenly blared. The control panel lit up with red lights, and Sam's expression turned serious. "Captain, we're detecting an incoming ship. It's a hegemony patrol." Mercer's heart sank. "They must have noticed our launch. We need to get back to the shipyard. Fast." "Not yet," Sam replied, her eyes focused. "We can't run. We have to fight back. This is a chance to prove ourselves." Mercer hesitated but saw the determination in her eyes. "All right, let's prepare for battle." They quickly readied the ship's defenses and activated the cloaking system. The Revenant became invisible to the alien ship. Mercer could see the enemy approaching on the radar, a large hegemony cruiser with a menacing presence. As the cruiser passed by, Mercer signaled Sam, "Now, activate weapons and target their engines." With a nod, Sam unleashed a barrage of energy blasts at the cruiser. The shots hit their mark, striking the engines and causing the ship to falter. The hegemony vessel struggled to maintain its course, and Mercer felt a surge of hope. "Keep firing," he shouted, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The crew worked together, aiming and firing with precision. The cruiser began to break apart, its defenses failing under the relentless attack. Mercer and Sam exchanged glances, realizing they had the upper hand. As the cruiser crumbled, the crew erupted in cheers. They had won their first battle. It was a small victory, but it meant everything. They had proven that they could fight back. With newfound confidence, Mercer steered the Revenant back toward the shipyard. They knew that this was only the beginning. The hegemony had underestimated humanity, but they would soon learn the truth. With the Revenant leading the charge, humanity was ready to reclaim their place in the stars. The first attack. The atmosphere in the shipyard was electric. The Revenant had returned from its first battle, and the crew was filled with excitement and confidence. They had defeated a hegemony cruiser, a feat no one thought possible. Captain Alex Mercer stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. "Captain, we need to plan our next move," Sam Hale said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "The hegemony will not take the loss lightly. They will come looking for us." Mercer nodded, understanding the weight of their situation. "You're right, Sam. We can't rest on our victory. We need to strike while we have momentum. Let's gather the crew and discuss our options." As the team gathered in the control room, Mercer could see the fire in their eyes. They were ready to fight. "Everyone, listen up," he began. "We've just won our first battle against the hegemony, but this is only the beginning. We need a plan for our next attack. We have to show them that humanity is not weak." The crew erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by Mercer's words. Sam stepped forward, pointing at a holographic map of the galaxy. "I've been analyzing hegemony supply routes. There's a small outpost on the edge of their territory. If we attack there, we can disrupt their supplies and send a message that we're a force to be reckoned with." Mercer studied the map, his mind racing with possibilities. "What's the risk?" he asked. "We need to be smart about this. We can't afford to lose the Revenant." Sam bit her lip, weighing the options. "The outpost is lightly guarded. We can use our cloaking system to approach unnoticed. But once we attack, they will call for reinforcements. We have to be quick." After some discussion, the crew agreed. They were ready to take the risk. With a plan in place, they began preparations for the mission. Mercer felt a rush of excitement as he looked around at his team. They were no longer just civilians. They were fighters, ready to defend their home. As night fell, the Revenant launched into space. The crew worked together, monitoring the ship's systems and preparing for battle. Mercer stood at the helm, focused on the journey ahead. They traveled through the darkness, the stars twinkling like diamonds around them. After a few hours, they arrived at the target, an isolated hegemony outpost nestled on a small moon. Mercer activated the cloaking device, making the ship invisible to enemy sensors. "We're in position," he announced, his heart racing. "Prepare for the attack." Sam took a deep breath, her fingers dancing over the controls. "On my mark," she said. The crew held their breath, anticipation filling the air. 3, 2, 1, now. The cloaking device shut off, and the Revenant appeared in front of the outpost. Mercer commanded, "Fire the main cannons." Bright beams of energy shot from the ship, striking the outpost with incredible force. The enemy was caught off guard, and alarms blared as chaos erupted within their base. Mercer felt a thrill of adrenaline as they unleashed their attack. "Keep firing," he shouted. "Target their weapon systems." The crew worked in unison, aiming and shooting with precision. The outpost's defenses crumbled under their onslaught. They had trained for this moment, and it showed. The Hegemony guards scrambled to respond, but they were no match for the power of the Revenant. "Captain, they're sending a distress signal," Sam warned. "Reinforcements will be here any minute." "We need to destroy their communications," Mercer replied. "We can't let them call for help." Sam quickly adjusted the targeting system. "I'm on it." The crew fired again, targeting the communication tower. With a direct hit, the tower exploded, sending debris flying. The outpost was now isolated, unable to call for help. "Great job. Now, let's finish this," Mercer shouted. "Target their supply depots next." They focused their fire on the supply warehouses, each explosion causing panic among the enemy forces. Mercer could see the Hegemony soldiers running for cover, their once orderly base now in complete chaos. It was a sight to behold, a sign of humanity's strength rising from the ashes of despair. Suddenly, a new wave of Hegemony ships emerged from the darkness, their lights flashing ominously. "They've sent reinforcements," Sam cried. "We have to retreat." Mercer's heart sank. They had anticipated this, but the enemy arrived faster than he had hoped. "No, we can't leave without finishing the job." With fierce determination, he ordered another barrage on the outpost. Explosions lit up the night sky as the Revenant unleashed its full power. The crew fought valiantly, but the enemy numbers were overwhelming. "Captain, we can't hold them off much longer," Sam shouted, her hands trembling as she worked the controls. "Prepare for hyperspace," Mercer ordered, knowing they had to escape. "We'll come back stronger. This isn't the end." With the ship damaged but operational, they engaged the warp drive. The stars stretched and blurred as they jumped to hyperspace, leaving the chaos behind. As they emerged back in the safety of the asteroid belt, the crew was silent, breathing heavily. They had faced danger and fought bravely. They had won a battle, but it had come with a cost. Mercer turned to his team, pride swelling in his chest. "We did well today. We struck fear into the Hegemony. They will remember this attack, and they will know that humanity is ready to fight back." The crew cheered, their spirits renewed. They had tasted victory, and with that, they knew they were capable of so much more. The fight for their freedom had just begun, and they would not back down. Hegemony's retaliation. The victory at the Hegemony outpost filled the crew of the Revenant with a sense of pride. They had struck a powerful blow against their alien rulers. Captain Alex Mercer stood on the bridge, surveying the faces of his crew, each one glowing with excitement and determination. They were ready for more. However, they knew that such a bold move would not go unnoticed. The Hegemony would retaliate. After all, they were not just any enemy. They were ruthless and relentless. As the crew celebrated their victory, Sam Hale was at the control panel, her fingers moving quickly across the buttons. "Captain, I've been monitoring Hegemony communications," she said, her voice serious. "They're angry. They're calling for a council to discuss our attack." Mercer nodded, his expression shifting from joy to concern. "What do they plan to do?" "They're sending out a fleet to hunt us down," Sam replied. "They want to make an example of us. We need to prepare for their retaliation." Mercer understood the gravity of the situation. "Gather everyone. We need to come up with a defense plan. The Hegemony won't take long to strike back." As the crew gathered in the control room, The mood shifted. Excitement turned into worry. They had faced the hegemony before, but now they would be fighting against their full strength. Mercer looked at his team, sensing their anxiety. "Listen, everyone," he said, trying to inspire confidence. "We knew that the hegemony would retaliate after our attack. They want to show us their power, but we will not back down. We have the element of surprise on our side. We need to use it to our advantage." Sam spoke up, her voice steady. "We should find a place to hide for now. If we can stay out of sight, we can regroup and plan our next move. The asteroid belt nearby could offer us some cover." "Good idea, Sam," Mercer replied. "Let's head there immediately. Everyone, get to your stations." The crew sprang into action, working together to navigate through the asteroid belt. The massive rocks floated silently in space, creating a labyrinth of shadows and hiding places. The Revenant slipped into the cover of the asteroids, cloaking itself from enemy sensors. As they settled in, Mercer kept a watchful eye on the sensors. Hours passed, and the tension grew. The crew waited anxiously, hoping the hegemony would pass by without detecting them. Suddenly, the warning alarms blared. "Captain, we have multiple hegemony ships approaching," Sam shouted, her face pale. "They're searching the area." Mercer's heart raced. "Prepare for battle stations. We need to be ready in case they find us." "Activate the cloaking device." The crew quickly moved to their positions, adrenaline coursing through their veins. They all knew that if they were discovered, it could mean the end of their mission and their lives. As the hegemony ships drew closer, Mercer watched the view screen with bated breath. The enemy cruisers scanned the area, their powerful sensors sweeping across the asteroids. The crew held their breath, hoping that their cloaking technology would keep them hidden. "They're getting closer," Sam warned, her fingers gripping the controls. "We might not last long in this position. If they find us." Mercer cut her off, his voice firm. "Stay focused, Sam. We're not going to let them find us. We have trained for this. Trust the ship and each other." Just then, one of the hegemony ships changed course, heading directly toward the Revenant. The crew's hearts sank as they realized they were about to be discovered. "Activate emergency thrusters," Mercer ordered. "We need to move now." Sam quickly engaged the thrusters, and the Revenant shot forward, darting deeper into the asteroid field. The ship shook as it maneuvered through the dense rocks, the crew gripping their stations tightly. "They've spotted us," Sam shouted, panic in her voice. "They're firing." Energy blasts erupted from the hegemony ship, illuminating the darkness of space. Mercer felt the ship shudder as one of the blasts grazed the Revenant. Alarms rang out, and sparks flew from the control panel. "Damage report," Mercer demanded, his heart racing. "Minor damage to the shields, but we're still operational," Sam replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We need to evade their fire." Mercer's mind raced as he assessed their options. "We need to split up the enemy ships. If we can get them tangled in the asteroids, we might have a chance." "Understood," Sam replied, her eyes narrowing with determination. She piloted the ship through a narrow gap between two asteroids, using the terrain to their advantage. The hegemony ships followed closely behind, but they were not as nimble as the Revenant. As the crew navigated through the asteroid field, they watched as one of the enemy cruisers collided with a large rock, sending debris scattering into space. "Nice work, Sam," Mercer shouted, a surge of hope filling him. "Keep it up." The crew worked together, using their knowledge of the asteroid belt to create a maze for the hegemony ships. They led them into tight spaces, forcing the enemy to break formation. As the battle continued, the Revenant evaded shots and fired back when they could, targeting the enemy's engines. Finally, one of the hegemony ships began to falter. With a direct hit, its engines exploded, sending it spiraling out of control. The crew cheered, but they knew this battle was far from over. "More ships are coming in," Sam warned, her eyes wide with fear. We can't keep this up forever. Find us a way out of here, Mercer commanded, his voice steady. We need to regroup. Sam scanned the area, her heart pounding. There's a gap in the asteroid belt ahead. If we can reach it, we can jump to hyperspace. Let's go, Mercer shouted, pushing the crew forward. Full speed ahead. With their hearts racing, the crew maneuvered through the dense field of asteroids. The hegemony ships pursued them fiercely, but they were determined not to be caught. Finally, they reached the gap, and Mercer felt a rush of relief. Prepare for hyperspace, he yelled. On my mark. As the crew worked together, the hegemony ships closed in. With a deep breath, Mercer commanded, now. The Revenant leaped into hyperspace, leaving the chaos of battle behind. They had escaped, but they knew that the hegemony would not stop. They would be back, angrier and more determined than ever. As they emerged into the safety of open space, the crew exhaled, a wave of relief washing over them. They had survived the hegemony's retaliation, but the war was far from over. With each battle, they grew stronger, but the fight ahead would be even more challenging. Mercer looked around at his crew, their faces marked with determination. We may have escaped this time, but we need to prepare for what comes next. We will not back down. We will fight for our freedom. The crew cheered, their spirits lifted. They were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The war against the hegemony had just begun, and together, they would face it head-on. The big battle. The days following the hegemony's retaliation were filled with tension and anticipation. Captain Alex Mercer and his crew aboard the Revenant knew that the time for a decisive confrontation was near. The hegemony had suffered losses, and their anger would soon boil over into a full-scale assault. Captain, our intelligence reports show that the hegemony is gathering their fleet near the planet Eloria, Sam Hale informed him one morning. Her expression was serious as she pointed to a holographic display showing the enemy formations. Mercer frowned, studying the display. That's a major supply planet for them. If we can disrupt their operations there, we can hit them hard and show them they are not invincible. Sam nodded, her determination clear. If we attack quickly, we can catch them off guard. But we need to be careful. They will have reinforcements ready. Then we'll strike fast and hard, Mercer said. Gather the crew. We need to plan this attack carefully. As the crew assembled in the control room, excitement mixed with anxiety. They were about to face the hegemony in a way they had never done before. Mercer stood before them, his voice steady and strong. Listen, everyone. We have a chance to change the tide of this war. The hegemony thinks they can crush us, but we will show them the power of humanity. Our plan is to hit their supply lines hard. If we can disrupt their resources, we can weaken their forces. The crew erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by Mercer's words. Sam took over, outlining the strategy. We'll approach from the asteroid belt, using it for cover. Once we're in position, we'll launch a surprise attack on their supply ships and storage facilities. Let's get ready, Mercer shouted, the crew buzzing with energy. They all knew what was at stake. With the plan set, the Revenant launched into space once more. The crew moved with purpose, preparing the ship for battle. Sam monitored the systems, ensuring everything was functioning perfectly. As they approached the planet Eloria, the crew held their breath. They could see the hegemony fleet assembled in the distance, a dark and intimidating presence. Mercer's heart raced, but he felt a wave of determination wash over him. Activate the cloaking device, he commanded. Let's get into position. The Revenant moved silently through the shadows of the asteroid belt, creeping closer to the enemy fleet. The planet loomed ahead, its surface dotted with hegemony installations and supply depots. Captain, we're in position, Sam announced. The enemy ships are unaware of our presence. Good. Prepare to drop the cloak, Mercer replied, his voice steady. On my mark, we attack. The crew focused, their eyes fixed on the display screens. Mercer counted down. 3, 2, 1. Drop cloak. The Revenant appeared suddenly, a bright flash against the darkness of space. Mercer commanded, "Fire the main cannons." Energy beams shot from the ship, striking the nearest supply ship. The enemy was caught off guard, alarms blaring as chaos erupted among their ranks. Mercer felt a rush of adrenaline as they launched their attack. "Target their storage facilities," he shouted, the crew working together seamlessly. They fired again, causing massive explosions that rocked the surface of Eloria. "Great job." Sam cheered, her voice filled with excitement. "We're hitting them hard." But the hegemony quickly responded. Mercer watched as enemy ships scrambled to form a defensive line. "They're regrouping. We need to keep up the pressure," he commanded. The crew fired relentlessly, dodging incoming fire and striking back with precision. They moved through the chaos, expertly navigating between enemy ships and asteroids. Mercer's heart raced as he felt the power of the Revenant in action. Suddenly, a hegemony cruiser turned its weapons toward them. "Incoming fire," Sam shouted, her voice filled with urgency. "Brace for impact." The Revenant shook violently as enemy blasts hit the shields. Mercer gripped the control panel, focusing on the battle. "We can't let them gain the upper hand. Target their engines." With determination, the crew shifted their focus. They fired again, aiming for the cruiser's engines. A powerful blast struck, and the enemy ship began to falter, smoke billowing from its hull. "Nice shot," Mercer yelled, feeling the surge of hope. "Keep pushing forward." As the battle raged on, Mercer could see the tide beginning to turn. The hegemony fleet was struggling to maintain control, their ships taking damage as they fought back against the relentless assault. But just as victory seemed within reach, a massive hegemony dreadnought emerged from behind the planet, its dark silhouette looming ominously. The crew gasped as they saw its weapons powering up, preparing to unleash devastation. "Captain, we need to retreat," Sam urged, panic in her voice. "That ship is too powerful." "No," Mercer shouted, his voice filled with determination. "We can't back down now. We need to take it down." The crew exchanged worried glances, but Mercer's resolve ignited their courage. "We've come too far to turn back. We'll face this together." With renewed strength, the Revenant charged forward, aiming straight for the dreadnought. Mercer barked orders, coordinating their attack. "Target their weapon systems. We have to disable it before it can fire." The crew worked tirelessly, firing everything they had at the massive ship. Explosions lit up the darkness as they evaded fire and launched their own. The dreadnought shook under the assault, but it continued to fight back, unleashing powerful energy blasts that rocked the Revenant. "Shields holding at 70%. Sam shouted, her hands gripping the controls. "But we can't take much more of this." Mercer felt the weight of their situation. "We need to outsmart it. Use the asteroids for cover." They maneuvered through the chaotic battlefield, darting between massive rocks and debris. The dreadnought struggled to keep up, its size making it cumbersome. The crew took advantage of every opportunity, launching precise attacks that chipped away at the enemy's defenses. Finally, with one last concentrated blast, they targeted the dreadnought's core. The explosion was massive, illuminating the space around them. The dreadnought shuddered, its power failing as it spiraled out of control. "Yes," Mercer shouted, the thrill of victory surging through him. "We did it." The remaining hegemony ships began to retreat, realizing they were no match for the Revenant and its brave crew. As they watched the enemy flee, the crew erupted in cheers, their victory ringing through the ship. Mercer looked around at his team, their faces filled with joy and relief. "We did it together," he shouted, pride swelling in his chest. "We showed them that humanity will fight back." As they made their way back to the asteroid belt, the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory. They had faced the might of the hegemony and emerged stronger than ever. The fight was far from over, but they had taken a significant step forward. Together, They would continue the fight for their freedom and reclaim their place among the stars. The final mission. After their stunning victory at Aloria, the crew of the Revenant felt a surge of confidence. They had fought bravely against the hegemony and won. But deep down, Captain Alex Mercer knew that their biggest challenge lay ahead. The hegemony would not let this defeat go unpunished, and they were likely planning their next move. "Gather everyone in the control room," Mercer commanded one morning. He sensed the weight of the moment pressing down on him as his crew assembled. Their faces were bright with excitement, but he could also see the concern in their eyes. Once they were all gathered, Mercer looked around the room. "We've just won an important battle, but the hegemony is still a powerful enemy. We need to strike at their heart and make them think twice before attacking us again." Sam Hale stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Captain, we've intercepted intelligence about a secret hegemony base on the planet Kestrel. If we can destroy that base, we might cripple their supply chain and morale." Mercer nodded, impressed by Sam's analysis. "That sounds like a solid plan, but we have to be careful. The hegemony will have heavy defenses around that base. This mission will require all of our skills and courage." The crew nodded in agreement. They were ready to face whatever dangers awaited them. Mercer felt a surge of pride for his team. They had grown closer through their battles, and he knew they would fight for one another. "Let's prepare for departure," Mercer ordered. "We'll need to get into position before the hegemony notices us." As the Revenant launched into space, the crew worked together with focus and determination. Sam piloted the ship while others monitored their systems and checked their weapons. The tension in the air was palpable, but it was mixed with a sense of purpose. After several hours, they arrived at Kestrel. The planet was cloaked in thick clouds, hiding the hegemony base from view. "We'll need to go in quietly," Mercer said, pointing at the holographic display. "We can't let them know we're here until it's too late." "Captain, there are several enemy ships in orbit," Sam reported, her eyes scanning the sensors. "We need to navigate carefully to avoid detection." "Understood. We'll move slowly," Mercer replied, his voice calm. "We need to find a way to slip past their defenses." As the Revenant descended through the clouds, the crew held their breath. The planet's surface came into view, revealing the sprawling hegemony base surrounded by high walls and watchtowers. Enemy ships patrolled the skies, making it clear that the base was heavily guarded. "Captain, we're going to have to make some hard choices," Sam said, her voice steady. "We can't take on all of those defenses head-on." Mercer thought for a moment. "We need a distraction. If we can draw some of their ships away from the base, we'll have a better chance of getting in." Sam nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "We could use the asteroid field nearby to create a fake signal. They'll send ships to investigate, allowing us to slip in unnoticed." "Perfect," Mercer replied, his excitement growing. "Let's set it up." The crew worked quickly, crafting the false signal. With everything in place, Mercer gave the order. "Activate the signal. Let's see if we can lure them away." As the false signal blinked to life, Mercer watched the display with anticipation. Almost immediately, enemy ships began to move toward the asteroid field, leaving the base less guarded. "Now's our chance," Mercer shouted. "Let's go." The Revenant raced toward the hegemony base, moving as quietly as possible. They navigated through the clouds, their hearts pounding as they approached the target. The crew held their breath, hoping the distraction would hold. As they neared the base, Sam pointed out a weak spot in the defenses. "There's a gap in the security systems. We can get through there." "Good eye, Sam," Mercer exclaimed. "Prepare for a quick entry." With deft maneuvers, Sam piloted the ship through the gap, and they slipped into the heart of the base. The interior was dark and filled with machinery. The crew could see soldiers moving around, unaware that their enemy had entered. "Let's move quickly," Mercer instructed, leading the way. "We need to plant explosives on their main supply depot." As they navigated through the base, the crew worked quietly and efficiently. They dodged patrols and set their charges, each explosive ticking down to the moment of detonation. The adrenaline fueled their actions, and they felt a rush of excitement with each step. Finally, they reached the main supply depot. Mercer looked at his team, their faces determined. This is it. Once we set these charges, we need to get back to the ship quickly. The crew quickly planted the explosives, ensuring they were ready for the countdown. Sam checked the timer, her eyes bright with anticipation. 5 minutes until detonation. We need to hurry. As they retraced their steps, the alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. They've discovered us. One of the crew members shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Stay calm, Mercer commanded. We need to keep moving. The crew raced through the corridors, the sound of footsteps echoing behind them. Hegemony soldiers shouted as they chased after them, and Mercer felt the pressure of time closing in. Faster, he urged. We can't let them catch us. They sprinted toward the Revenant, the exit growing closer. Just as they reached the hangar, enemy soldiers blocked their path. Mercer raised his weapon, ready to defend his crew. Hold your fire, he shouted. We need to get to the ship. Cover me. Sam shouted as she took aim at the soldiers. The crew opened fire, and chaos erupted. Energy blasts filled the air as they fought their way to the ship. With quick thinking, Mercer and his team fought bravely, working together to fend off the attackers. Just as it seemed they might be overwhelmed, the timer on the explosives flashed in Mercer's mind. We need to get out of here. Now. With the last of their strength, the crew pushed through, reaching the Revenant. Sam jumped into the pilot's seat, and the crew quickly boarded. Engage the engines, Mercer shouted, adrenaline pumping through him. As Sam powered up the ship, the base began to shake. We've got to go. The charges are about to go off. With a final push, the Revenant lifted off just as a massive explosion rocked the base. The crew felt the shockwave push them forward as they shot into the sky, escaping just in time. Did we do it? One of the crew members asked, his eyes wide with excitement. Yes, Mercer shouted, a grin spreading across his face. We struck a major blow against the hegemony. As they flew away from the burning base, the crew erupted in cheers. They had completed their final mission, and they knew this victory would echo through the galaxy. But Mercer also knew that the fight was far from over. The hegemony would come for them again, but they would be ready. Together, they would continue to fight for their freedom and the future of humanity. Humanity's victory. The news of the Revenant's successful mission spread like wildfire throughout the galaxy. After the destruction of the hegemony base on Kestrel, hope loomed among the human colonies. Captain Alex Mercer and his crew were not just soldiers. They were heroes. Back at their home base on Earth, a celebration was in full swing. People gathered in the streets, waving flags and cheering for their brave defenders. Mercer stood on a stage, surrounded by his crew, and faced the crowd. The atmosphere was electric, filled with excitement and pride. Today, we celebrate our victory, Mercer shouted, raising his arms. The crowd roared in response, their voices echoing through the streets. Together, we have shown the galaxy that humanity will not back down. We will fight for our freedom. The crew stood beside him, their faces glowing with happiness. Sam Hale, his trusted lieutenant, beamed with pride. She had worked hard to make their victory possible, and now she felt the weight of their success. As the celebrations continued, Mercer took a moment to reflect. They had faced incredible odds and had come out stronger, but he also knew that the hegemony would not give up easily. They had already begun to regroup after their losses. Captain, Sam said, breaking his thoughts, we need to prepare for what's next. The hegemony will retaliate. Mercer nodded, knowing she was right. Let's enjoy this moment, but we must stay vigilant. We can't let our guard down. The following days were filled with briefings and strategy sessions. The crew reviewed their plans and prepared for any possible attacks from the hegemony. Tension hung in the air, but Mercer encouraged his team to stay focused and confident. One evening, as they gathered for dinner, Mercer raised his glass. "To our crew, you have all shown great bravery and skill. We've achieved something incredible together." Everyone clinked their glasses, laughter and camaraderie filling the room. They were a family now, united by their experiences and their shared purpose. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and an urgent alarm sounded. Sam rushed to the control panel, her expression serious. "Captain, we've detected a massive hegemony fleet approaching." Mercer's heart raced. "Get everyone to their stations. We need to prepare for battle." The crew sprang into action, their training kicking in as they worked with precision. Mercer felt the adrenaline course through him as he took command. "Sam, what's their estimated arrival time?" "Less than an hour," she replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "They're coming in hot. Then we'll meet them head-on. We've prepared for this moment," Mercer declared, determination shining in his eyes. "We will show them that humanity will not be intimidated." The crew gathered, their faces reflecting both fear and resolve. Mercer looked at them, his voice steady. "This is our chance to end this conflict. If we can defeat them now, we can secure our freedom for generations to come. Trust in each other, and we will win." As the hegemony fleet came into view, the atmosphere shifted. Enemy ships filled the screen, their dark silhouettes ominous against the stars. Mercer's heart pounded as he issued commands. "Prepare weapons. Lock on targets." The crew worked in perfect harmony, their movements smooth and practiced. Mercer felt a sense of pride swell in his chest. They were ready for this fight. "Engage the cloaking device," he ordered. "We'll use surprise to our advantage." The Revenant slipped into the shadows, silently approaching the enemy fleet. Mercer's mind raced as he calculated their next move. They needed to hit hard and fast to disrupt the hegemony's plans. "Captain, we're in position," Sam announced. "Ready when you are." "On my mark," Mercer said, his eyes focused on the enemy formations. He could feel the tension in the air, each moment stretching into eternity. 3, 2, 1. Drop the cloak. With a flash, the Revenant appeared before the enemy fleet. "Fire!" Mercer shouted, adrenaline surging through him. The ship's weapons unleashed a torrent of energy blasts, striking enemy ships and causing chaos among their ranks. The hegemony fleet was taken by surprise, but they quickly regrouped and returned fire. "Shields holding at 75%, Sam reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We're taking hits, but we can hold." "Keep firing. Target their command ship," Mercer commanded, his heart racing as explosions erupted around them. The crew fought with all their might, their resolve unshaken. As the battle raged on, Mercer felt a sense of clarity. This was what they had trained for. This was their moment to shine. The Revenant danced through the chaos, dodging enemy fire and launching counterattacks. Suddenly, an enemy ship broke through their lines, heading straight for them. "Brace for impact," Sam shouted, her eyes wide with alarm. The ship shook violently as the enemy collided with their shields. Mercer gripped the controls, determination etched on his face. "We can't let them take us down. Keep firing." With a quick maneuver, he spun the ship around, targeting the enemy that had attacked. Fire at will. The crew unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, taking down the enemy ship. "Nice work," Sam cheered, her voice filled with excitement. But the battle was far from over. The hegemony fleet pressed on, their numbers overwhelming. Mercer felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He knew that their victory depended on his decisions. "Let's flank them," he shouted. "We'll catch them off guard." As they moved to outmaneuver the enemy, Mercer felt a surge of hope. They were fighting for their future, for the freedom of humanity. With each blast fired, they pushed back against the hegemony's might. Finally, after what felt like hours, the tide began to turn. The hegemony ships were struggling to maintain their formation, their defenses faltering. Mercer seized the moment. "Target their command ship. If we can take it down, We can end this." With fierce determination, the crew fired everything they had. Explosions lit up the darkness of space, and Mercer watched as the enemy command ship was engulfed in flames. "Yes," Mercer shouted, a wave of triumph washing over him. "We're doing it." The remaining hegemony ships began to retreat, realizing they had lost the battle. The crew erupted in cheers, their victory ringing through the ship. Mercer felt a rush of emotion, knowing they had fought bravely and won. As the Revenant flew through the remnants of the battlefield, the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, proving that humanity could not be broken. "Today, we have shown the galaxy our strength," Mercer declared, his heart swelling with pride. "This is our victory, and together we will secure our future." And so, amidst the stars, humanity stood tall. They had fought for their freedom, and now they would continue to rise, united and unyielding against any threat that dared to challenge them.